Hey there, good to see you guys. Before we start this, I need to do one little thing over here, so just bear with me for a second. I need to make sure this records, and it's telling me that I need to get rid of something, so bear with me for just a second while I do that. Hope everybody had a good day. I have to get rid of some stuff out of this library, or else it won't record it. Okay, here we go. Delete. Mm-hmm. Here we go. Just a second, guys. I'm so sorry. Delete. Okay, I need to make sure that we get to keep this because I want to keep this one. Here we go. Delete. Is it not deleting it? All right, hang on. Maybe this will take care of it. All right. So, anyway, back to what I was talking about. Oh my God, please record it. All right. Today I came across this story. Oh my God, and it's pretty interesting, and it's about uh, this lady named Jenny Haynes. Now, I know that there's been some talk about her, but there's some really fascinating stories about her. What makes this important is something that we've heard before, and people just thought, oh, no way, there's no way that could happen, right? So that is something that makes this important and why I wanted to talk about it. But before we get started, let's go ahead and do our disclaimer, which is tonight's broadcast discusses allegations, court records, psychological trauma, dissociative identity disorder, and childhood abuse. This program is presented for commentary, education, news reporting, and public discussion purposes under fair use principles, and viewer discretion is advised due to this sensitive subject. So just there's a little bit of a trigger warning there, and we're going to use this under fair use. As always, let me see if my other fair use is over here. I don't want to miss anything. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Now, go back up here. We'll just read the rest of the script, the rest of our fair use. So, the broadcast may contain copyrighted material, including news clips, courtroom images, documents, photographs, and commentary used for purposes of criticism, commentary, education, reporting, and public discussion under Section 107 of the U.S. Copyright Act. All opinions expressed are alleged claims, legal analysis, or commentary based on publicly available information and court records. This content is not intended to harass, defame, or target any individual. And again, your discretion is advised due to the sensitive and violent crimes and these legal proceedings that we are going to discuss tonight. So there is our disclaimer. Now, let's go back over here to where we were, to our subject, which is Miss Jenny Haynes. And what makes this different and important is we've talked about dissociative identity disorder before. Remember when Letitia Stouch, in her trial, they were actually trying to claim that she had DID. Y'all remember that? It was kind of, and the only person that believed that she had it was Dr. Lewis. Now, Dr. Lewis kind of made a fool out of herself in that courtroom, and she sounded like she was actually for the prosecution, not the defense, if you will remember that. So, this is why I want to talk about this, because in Australia, this case has actually they have used DID in a courtroom to tell a story, and it was for the benefit of the survivor of the horrible crime, because this is how she survived the crime. So that is what this is about tonight. Now, we're going to talk about who is Jenny Haynes and what happened to her, how it happened to her, and what happened to the person that's involved in what happened to her, the criminal. Because sadly, the criminal is, of all people, her own father. Let me make sure this is recording. Hang on just a second, guys. Anyway, I guess it is. So that's why we're going to talk about this. Oh, I see Sprinkle's right there. So come on in and say hello, Sprinkle. And then we'll get this going.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah. Hey, Cinderella. I'm so glad you're here. Good to see you, girl. Today's been a fascinating day, hasn't it? Lots of stories going on, lots of different things going on YouTube, lots of carryings on that maybe shouldn't be carrying on, but they're out there on YouTube. I'm seeing a lot of drama. Anyway, but we're not going to participate in that. We're just going to talk about this important historical story out of Australia. We know that the United States does not see this dissociative identity disorder the same way. So let's read a little bit about Jenny Haynes, and then we're going to show now under fair use. We're going to have to stop quite frequently with this particular film because I don't want to get a copyright strike because we didn't stop and talk about it quick enough. So just be aware that we're going to have to do that. So Jenny Haynes grew up in Australia, but behind closed doors, according to court testimony, she was enduring years of unimaginable abuse at the hands of her father. As a child, her mind developed some survival mechanisms. And one of the things about DID that they always talk about is the people who actually develop this, it comes from childhood trauma, and most of the time it comes from a child who was being sexually abused. Okay, that just know that about that as we start talking. So psychologists later diagnosed her with dissociative identity disorder, or commonly known as DID. Now, DID is often misunderstood because movies, they just sensationalize it. Remember Billy Madison and some of these other movies where these people had all these personalities. And of course, then there's Dr. Lewis, who also makes a mockery out of this real psychological problem. When experts describe DID as a trauma response where the brain separates overwhelming memories into different identities or parts. So this is how Jenny describes herself, as having a symphony of identities. So all of these identities, I believe she says that she started out with 2,500 of them. I know that sounds unreal. I know it does. But when you think about, she says that all of these different identities took on a part of something that happened to her when it happened to her, and every one of them remembered everything that happened to her. Yeah, Sybil's another one, exactly. And so she remembers all of these things. So she's in she's in this courtroom and she's testifying 50 years. It has been 50 years after the fact that she was able to bring charges against her father, who is a monster. Now, there was 357 different charges on a warrant. Can you imagine how long it takes to draw up a 357 357 different I guess crimes on one warrant. I mean, it's hard to describe that. 357 crimes on one warrant. That takes a long time. It's got to be checked, double checked. In fact, she felt like she was never going to be able to bring this to a close or bring this to court. Another thing that happened in the middle of all of this, she was subpoenaed to the UK, her and her mother, because somebody else had filed sexual abuse charges against her father in the UK. She thought, oh boy, it's my chance, it's my opportunity. I can talk about this and I can get him arrested here. But instead, what happened in the UK was the judge asked her father, did you do this? He asked Richard, did you do this? No, I didn't do this, my child. Okay, well, you're innocent. So she was shut down automatically and she was not able to bring charges against her father in the UK. So she goes home and she goes back to Australia. And one of the unique things that happens in the middle of all of this is she decides she's going to school and she's going to do right by herself. She's going to make sure something happens so that this monster can be stopped. She spends 18 years in school. Yes, 18 years to make sure she has every degree that she needs to bring justice for herself and put the monster in jail. So this is kind of the what happened here, and there's a bunch of different parts to it, but I just want to explain a little bit how this happened because it's a lot. Now, the thing is, the first entity or the first alter personality that she created was Symphony, and then after that there was more, not just 2, not 10, but there was actually thousands that she had created. Some people think that these children are just making up um, uh, friends, not real friends. They're just making up not real friends to play with, but that's not what this is. It's not at all what this is. It's not imaginary friends that's going on here. This is real trauma. Okay. So some of these alters were children. Some of these alters held some memories that the other alters did not know about. Some protected her emotionally, and some carried her fear. She had to have a lot of fear of this man. She describes her childhood as everything's great during the day. Dad walks through the door and everybody in the house is on pins and needles right then. She can't move. She's frightened. She's scared. If he says one word to her, What's going to happen when Mama goes to bed? What's going to happen when he drags me in there, into the couch? So this was her life every day for 7 years, from the age of 7 to the age of 14. It's horrific. Okay, it is a record. It is horrific. So, whether these, according to her testimony, this system developed because the trauma was so severe, her young mind could not process it normally. And I'm going to agree with that. At 7 years old, there's no way you can even explain what's happening to you. In fact, when she talks about what this was, her father called, I'm just going to say his part, it. He would refer to it as it. She had no idea what the proper name was. And she described it as, like when an elephant sticks its trunk up. This is graphic and it's horrific and trigger warning. But this is what happened to this lady. This is one of the ways that she describes this. Now, one of the things about this is whether recovered memories can be trusted. That's one of the questions. Do you believe that she was able to recall all of these memories? Should we trust what she said? Number 2, why this case became historic. And number 3, why psychologists worldwide still discuss this story. It was groundbreaking. Yeah, bless her is right. You know what? Bless her is right, Cinderella. It is horrific. It's hard to talk about. Now, we're going to show a little bit of her movie here, and I believe it's called This Is Jen or I Am Jen, but we have to stop it every so often. I have this little note over here where I need to stop it every time so we can talk about it, because that's how we can break it down into chapters and try to avoid a copyright strike. I don't want one. So here we go. Let's get started. Now, before we start, does anybody want to ask a question that maybe I can answer or make a comment about the believability of this woman? No? All right then. Here we go. Now let me get over here to my notes so I can make sure I stop it at the right time. So this is chapters based on the discussion between Dr. Jenny Haynes and Ginger Gorman regarding the book, The Girl in the Green Dress. All right. So we're going to start with the introduction and the welcome. So here we go. And this is full credit to the National Library of Australia. Now, ready? Let's just pray we don't get shut down. So here we go. We can only go a few seconds and then we have to stop it. All right, here we go.
And brings up any issues for you, or if you feel like you need to speak to someone, please call 1-800-RESPECT, which is 1-800-737-732, the National Sexual Assault, Domestic and Family Violence Counselling Service. It doesn't matter where you live. They will take your call and, if need be, refer you to a service closer to your home. For crisis support, contact Lifeline on 13 11 14. Chat with them online at www.lifeline.org.
A lot of these numbers don't apply to us because we're in America. So what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to skip past them because I don't know that we're going to have somebody from Australia watching this tonight. So let's just move past those so we can get into the meat of the story and exactly what happened. So bear with me. Let's get over here to, I think it's 352. I don't know, this is where it starts. Hang on. Here we go. All right, here we go.
Justice, as well as a PhD focusing on victims of crime. Amazing achievement. The fact Jenny survived is testament to the extraordinary strength of her mind. What saved her was the process of dissociation, multiple personal disorder, MPD, or dissociative identity disorder, DID. A defence mechanism that saw Jenny create over 2,500 separate personalities, or alters, who protected her as best as they could from the trauma. With the support of her psychiatrist, Dr. George Blair West, Jenny fought to create a life for herself and bring her father to justice. Ginger Gorman is an award-winning print and radio journalist based here in Canberra in the ACT. She is also a 2006...
Now, we're going to stop right there and talk for just a second because, again, I just want to protect us today. I don't want to copyright. And there's no guarantee that once we upload this that we're not going to get one. But I wanted to talk about it because it's so important. So we're going to talk for a second and then we'll go back and turn it back on. I wanted to get the book, The Girl in the Green Dress, after watching this today. But there was no way I could get this book today. Let's talk about it tonight. So that just didn't happen. So what I had to do was go out into the internet and find areas where I could find parts of the book, parts of what was talked about, parts of the people who wrote the book, etc. Now, one of the things you're going to learn in this documentary, or as she talks about this book, is she had a little hand puppet. This hand puppet's name was Sweep, Sweep. One of the things that her dad would do that was so cruel is he would take Sweep into his hand. Yeah, what it, okay, what did she go through? She was sexually abused. Yeah, for 7 years by her father. And she started when she was 7 years old. So this is how this started to her. Okay, so she had this little let me get back in my notes. He had this little hand puppet. His name was Sweep, which is Sweep. And it got to the point when he got to the point where he was so cruel, he would take this little hand puppet and he would take her out to the shed and he would put the hand puppet in the window and tell her, if you want Sweep back, you have to go into the shed and get Sweep. Knowing that he was going to abuse her, she would go in there and sure enough, he would trap her, lock the door, do whatever he's going to do, leave her locked in there. That's the only way she could get her little hand puppet back. Now, I'm going to tell you a little spoiler about what happened in court because it's kind of important. At the end of all of this, 50 years later, she is in court finally in Australia, bringing charges against him. She has Sweep, her little hand puppet, in her hand. When she starts testifying with her little hand puppet, her dad sees the puppet and fear comes over him. So just think about that whenever we get to that point. So here we go. It is horrible. It's horrible.
6 World Press Institute Fellow. Her freelance work has been published in print and online in publications such as news.com.au, The Huffington Post, The Guardian, The Age, Mamma Mia and the ABC's Drum website. Her first book, Troll Hunting, was published in 2019. Please join me in welcoming Jenny Haynes and Ginger Gorman to discuss Jenny's book, The Girl in the Green Dress.
Thank you so much, Shirley. Thank you. And actually, a lot of Troll Hunting was written here at the National Library.
I'm going to stop that and we're going to move past it to where she starts talking about the book. Again, all to avoid the old copyright mess. Okay, so hang on. Here we go. I believe it's like right here. Let me see. Let me make sure I've got it right here.
If you need to step out at any time, just go for it. We're among...
Okay, because, again, it's very graphic. So here we go.
Just a statistic, really, to think about. And her brain did something quite amazing, created these alters or multiple personalities, not just a few, but 2,500. Big effort.
Oh, it's a big effort, yes. Actually, it was no effort at all. They just sauntered out the back of my head.
So some people call this dissociative personality disorder or DID, but Jenny prefers the term MPD or multiple personality disorder. So that's mostly what we're going to be using tonight. And also, as Shirley said, and I just found this amazing when I was reading about it, I just went and Googled everything about you, and I was reading all the BBC articles about how Jenny made legal history, not just here in Australia, but around the world when her alters were allowed to testify in court.
Okay, yes, that is exactly why this is so important, because it was history making. Nowhere has anybody ever been allowed to testify in court as their alters, but that is the only way she could get through the trauma that happened to her and tell her story. That's the only way she could do it. So I just wanted to say that for a second. Now, let me look over here in my notes if there's something I want to talk about. Before we put this back on again, we want to avoid any type of copyright strike, period. Let's see. People always ask when this is happening, where was mom? Where was mom? Just like with, little Maddie Soto, where was mom? Because people always, well, how did she not know? What do you mean she didn't know? Where was mom? Now, Jenny talks about where was mom and the fact that Mom was also extremely traumatized and afraid of Richard. So she did not cross Richard. For some reason, it's not that she ignored it, it's like in her brain this never really happened. Okay, so it's really horrific. Again, trigger warning, here we go.
And Jenny and her alters put her father in jail for 45 years. So this is what her book, The Girl in the Green Dress, is about. It's co-written with Ali Pascoe, and we're not going to go into the details of Jenny's abuse tonight because we don't want to re-traumatize anyone. What we're going to do is really unpick some of the things about the psychological issues and the legal issues. And as Jenny's talking, her alters might pop up and they will usually introduce themselves, as you'll hear.
Now,
So it's
I'm going to
you.
stop and we're going to move past the book picture there because I don't want to get in trouble. I'm so sorry. Just bear with me. It's the only way we're going to get through this. But okay, here we go.
Today, where I've jettisoned all the baggy clothing, I've kept the butterflies. Got to keep the butterflies. But being a sensual, sexual being, which is some of the biggest challenges I've faced, and yet to be able to do that, that makes me smile. That makes me happy. So I'm the happy ending. When I walk out of here, I'm not a sad person. I'll be walking out of here as joyously as I walked in here because I'm happy. At long last, I know what happy really is.
And we were talking just before the microphones were turned on about how much Jenny loves playing games. And the other thing we were talking about is Jenny loves 50s clothing. So you might think it's an accident that I'm dressed up with a flower in my hair, but it's not. It's in honor.
I'm going to move past that because we're not concerned with her 50s clothing. So hang on. I've never watched this particular show. I watched the movie that was on TV, and we cannot play the movie over here because we will most definitely get a strike. So here we go.
I was talking to a friend of mine who painted me for the Archibald Award, Renee Broders, and she said, if you could have anything, if you could have you looking like anything, what would you? I'd be in a 50s poodle skirt. I said,
I'm going to go past that
muscle skirts, not
because I don't want to talk about that. Here we go. I'm going to start talking about your. There we go, guys. We just got to have to do this.
Allowed to testify in court along with your alters, and you put your dad in jail for 45 years. What was it like to use the damage that he had done to you and your alters against him in a legal sense, in that very formal justice setting of a court?
People will think it's crazy, but it was amusing. It was actually rather amusing to be able to use those things that he used to call me crazy against him. It was symbolic, it was amusing. It's also terrifying because I didn't realize that I was the first person with MPD ever to get justice. I didn't realize I was the first person with MPD ever allowed to testify. And I didn't realize that the police were going to use the very things I was trying to minimize, my multiple personalities, my physical injuries. Didn't realize they were using them as evidence against my dad, because I went to the police to protect the unknown child. I never went to the police to get justice for me because I didn't know that justice and me could even be put in a sentence together.
Okay, so let's stop and talk about that for a second. I know this is hard to do, guys. I know it. But, that's really quite amazing because she never thought she would ever actually see justice, period. None. So I'm going to get my little book over here where I took these little notes today. So he would, just for a second. So we just talked about how her mom didn't know, and we talked about that. And then she goes that, move to the next page over here so I can read this. I took a whole bunch of notes today as I watched this. I'm just trying to be so careful with this. Dr. Blair West treated Jenny, and this was back in 1996. She started getting this treatment. She started talking to this doctor, and then this is when they were asked to go to the UK. In 1997, her and her mother were subpoenaed to go to the UK to testify against their father, and she's not believed. So they come back over to Australia, and her dad goes to prison in the UK. Now, once her dad goes to prison in the UK, the next thing that happens is once he's let out, okay, she starts, okay, this is wild and weird. She starts conversating with her dad while he's in prison. And one of the reasons why she does this is she says, we're all grown-ups now. We need to let this go. We need to all be adults now. And so she starts having conversations with him and even tells him that she loves him. I know this is wild, okay, I know. But then it's time for him to get out of prison in the UK. Now, he wants to move back to Australia. This is weird. So what happens is her mother and herself sign paperwork that says he's allowed to move back to the UK and live with them. Because she's thinking that she's healed this and she's okay. Even though she did not get justice in the UK, she's okay. So he comes over here and life is ticking along and life is good. Now, one of the things that he did when he filled out his paperwork to come back to Australia, when they asked him, have you had any time in jail? He said no. They did not check, but he did have time in jail. So just remember that little part of the story. So he comes over there. They're just ticking along every day. And then he was only able to be good for about 6 months, 4 or 5, 6 months. He was only able to be good. And then it started one day with he became angry about something. Her mother was not there. She's in the kitchen, and the next thing she doesn't know, he is standing behind her, making vulgar moves toward her with his front toward her back. Okay, and this when she realizes, oh my God, we are right back where we started. He learned nothing. He did not change at all. Now, I don't think that she ever realized that sex offenders like this don't have the ability to change. They will always be sick. They're always predators. There is no cure for a predator. So she gets really upset and she decides it's at that point. Now we're all the way over here. I think it's in 2009. Let me see where my book is. Okay, so we're over here in 2009, I believe it is. And she decides she's going to go to the police. She's had enough. Now she had spent 18 years getting every kind of doctorate. She got her doctorate and all these things in psychology and criminal justice, all of these, so she would know what to do to help herself when the time came, when she felt strong enough, or when she thought somebody would listen. But see, she thought that he was not going to be like this once he got out of prison, but she thought wrong. So she goes to the police department and she says, I want to file charges against my dad. His name is Richard. He did this to me 50 years ago. Now you got to stop and think. 50 years ago? Who's going to believe a child about something that happened 50 years ago? It's incredible because not only does she have to sit and discuss every single charge with this detective, they go back to the house where these incidences happened. And she walks through this house and the memories start flooding back. And all of a sudden, she's turning into all these different personalities as she's talking to this detective. And this detective he's kind of shocked. He's like, he didn't know what he was seeing. He didn't understand it at first. But then he got to talk to Dr. Blair West, and then he kind of had an understanding of what was happening. So I'm going to turn this back on, and we're going to listen for a few more minutes before we start talking again. All right, here we go.
So I tried to hide my multiplicity because I thought that it would decrease my credibility. And yet it actually increased my credibility because it was known in psychiatric circles, it was known that MPD could be a result of serious sex crimes. But I was the first person to ever walk into a courtroom and say, yeah, it is, and here I am, deal with it.
Here we are.
Yes, yes.
We're going to unpick that in just a moment, but can you explain to people here today what you mean by the unknown child?
My father, the monster that he is, loves control. So I was terrified that he would find a single woman with children and get into a parental role over that child and start again. And so I went to court, I went to the police, I went everywhere to protect a child that I would never know.
But not for justice for yourself.
God, no. It wasn't about me at all. It was about making sure he could not do this to somebody else, because I was taught throughout my entire experiences that I didn't matter. I've never mattered. And if you don't matter, you don't go for justice because you don't know you're allowed to. So,
all right, okay, we're going to stop there for just a second. So, I mean, she realized that he is absolutely a predator. And so in her mind, she is going to protect everybody she can from this predator, except for herself. She's not thinking that when she goes to do this, to make protection, to get the predator away from the possibility of hurting somebody else, that she's actually going to get justice for herself. This is an incredible story. I know it's a little hard to understand, but it gives hope to all these other children who may be in the same situation and may not realize they could actually do something about it, may not realize that maybe, just maybe, somebody's going to understand their trauma response and that they're going to be able to go in and talk for themselves like she was able to do. Because as we do know in America, DID is just looked at as it's not a real diagnosis. There aren't people like that. They're just malingering. They're just making it up. So we'll go back and play some more. Thank y'all. Thank you for your patience. I know it's going to take a long time, but I just want to protect us all. Here we go.
I went to stop him ever hurting another child. And he had been pitched as someone that was dangerous to teenagers. And so it was really hard for me when I stopped monitoring him and I went to the police and said, it's your job now. I cannot stand another minute of this man in my life. You have to take care. You've got to start protecting, not expecting me to do it. And you've got to start protecting when the child enters his life at 0, not at 15. Because by the time you get to 15, he's had 15 years of the kinds of things he did to me. And I refuse to let him do that to anybody else ever again.
I want to talk to you about how the police handled this in just a moment, but you said a really interesting thing just a moment ago, and I find this remarkable. And this was that, in fact, your alters helped you testify against your father because they remembered things that Jenny didn't remember. So can you explain to us how, in fact, your MPD helped you recall the evidence against your dad and convict him, whereas most people would have thought she's bonkers?
Oh, yes, I'm bonkers. Officially and clearly bonkers, although my psychiatrist says there's nothing wrong with me.
With your doctorate that you've gotten. And
Yeah. But, I was bonkers to study as well. But sticking with the question, okay. When I came to write my statement, police told me, write everything you remember. At that point, I was a integrated person who had previously had multiple personality disorder. And when I came to actually write the statement, it was like watching the big screen. I didn't see the computer in front of me. I didn't feel myself typing.
Right. Now, let's talk about when she goes to write her statement. Most statements have maybe 900 words, right? Just maybe about 900 words, or at most 9,000 words. Her statement with these 357 different experiences was 900,000 words. Now, you think about how long it takes to go through 900,000 words and to create a warrant, to present to get somebody arrested, to get a warrant for them with all of these multiple charges. I would love to get my hands on the charge, but I don't think we'll ever be able to see that, and that's okay too. But 900,000 words. That is, she goes and she reports this, and I'm sure that she's thinking, oh my gosh, why haven't they done anything yet? Why isn't there a warrant for his arrest? Why have they not done anything yet? But then thinking about 900,000 words and trying to get a proper statement written to present to the DA or to their solicitors, as they call them, in order to get an arrest warrant for this man. Took months. It took months. Okay, we'll go back and listen some more. It's incredible.
I would watch on the big screen that was in front of my eyes, and 3 hours later, I'd roll away from the table and there would be 5,000 words written. And what would happen was, while I was piecing the memories together, there were other alters typing. There were other alters coming along and adding the sounds, the smells, the tastes. And so it was like creating a jigsaw puzzle, and each altar had a different piece. And that's how we survived Dad, was by breaking up each experience into jigsaw puzzle pieces. So some poor bugger got stuck with what he smelt like. There was a lot of people that had to deal with that. And others dealt with what we heard and the emotional content of what we heard. So when we came to write it back, it was comparatively simple. The student, the one with the 3 degrees, just went, and 5,000 words just ran out of her fingers.
But just to be clear here, so Jenny and her alters wrote nearly 1 million words.
Yeah.
And
never ask me to write down everything I remember unless you have a long time to read it, because it was enormous. And the reason why it was enormous was because I'd been told I was a liar, a fantasist, so much that I wrote everything down to the individual colors on his multicolored jumper, because I wanted to prove that I was telling the truth. Instead of walking into the police station and saying, have I got a story for you? I walked in, almost slunk in, going, I want you to protect this unknown child. And the only way I can do that is to tell you what this monster did to me, but I don't matter. I just want you to know what he did so that you can make sure he doesn't do it to anybody else. It's a very strange way of presenting a case, because for the court case went for the legal process went for a total of 24 years. The last piece, the 10-year process, is the Australian bit. And it's a long time. And I talked about the unknown child so much that one day Paul Stamoulis, my police officer, stopped me and he said, I don't care about the unknown child. That's not what I'm here for. I want to get justice for the child I know about. We're 8 years into the legal process by this stage, and it's only just hitting me that this legal...
Okay. So, hearing what you just heard right there. So can you imagine? I kind of understand her wanting to keep going with this unknown child. I get it. She knows he's a predator. She wants him stopped. She thinks that And this is what happens to a lot of kids who've been in a traumatic situation. You know, they feel that they're nothing. They feel that nobody cares about them. They feel that their wants, needs are just irrelevant, that they're not important to anybody, that nobody cares what happens to them. So even though she had been to see Dr. Blair and had gotten herself, which was all split up, kind of put back together, pretty much kind of like, if you remember the book Sybil, you know how they took them all, they were all apart and they kind of meshed them all back together to make one whole person. And then she's sitting down at this typewriter and then she's having to break herself apart again because she's trying to, each piece has got to be re-remembered, see. It's just an incredible story. And you just got to wonder, in a child that's been so traumatically damaged, because she was, how, at what point did she finally understand that she was important? It must have been sometime in the middle of this experience here that she got that feeling that she was important. I don't know, Sprinkle, what do you think? Hello, are you there? Sprinkle? Okay, well, here we go. I don't think she can hear me for some reason. Okay, well, we'll just keep talking anyway. So, I mean, we'll talk about this for just a second, and we're going to go back and let her continue to talk. But you know, dissociative identity disorder itself, it's important. It's hard to understand. I mean, mental health experts say it's usually connected to extreme childhood trauma, which she is experiencing and telling us about extreme childhood trauma. I mean, when a child cannot physically escape the abuse, the mind psychologically escapes it instead, right? Because that's what's going on here. Now, there's a lot of critics that argue that these are just suggestion influenced memories. They're not really her memories since it really happened to her. Or that these are just some kind of therapy accidentally put these thoughts into her head, and it's just some kind of recollection that's not real. But see, that's not true. It's absolutely real. It all happened. The reason why we know it all happened is because when she finally got him into court, and he decided he was going to plead guilty and go ahead and admit to what he had done, that changed everything for her right there. Everything for her was changed. Now, there are so many of these cases that never reach a courtroom, ever. They just get swept along, no proof, you're lying, they don't believe the children, they only believe the parent. You know what I'm talking about. Y'all have seen this over and over and over. But the justice system had to answer, and it's an unprecedented question. Can multiple personalities inside one person each provide legally reliable testimony? That's what this is really about. So we'll keep going.
The process isn't about the unknown child, it's about me. And that shook me, and it took a long time for that to percolate through. But when it did, it hit Symphony like a ton of bricks, because suddenly she realized that for Paul Stamoulis, she mattered. And he's our hero. Him and Kim Whitman and Rachel Lawson and Rod Messer, hero cops, all of them. They are amazing. They did everything they said they were going to do. Sure, it took a while, but they did everything that they said they were going to do, and they were amazing. But it took me a long time to work out it was about me. It didn't cross my mind that these police officers were getting upset because it happened to me.
But that's really validating.
It is. Well, it is when you finally register that. So when I go into the courtroom on the first day of the trial, and Dad walks in, and I'm ready, prepared, and there's about 1,000 altars sitting there ready to throw the puzzle pieces out. And he thinks he's walking in to deal with this child that he can just intimidate. And
there's a lot of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just for people who are listening who don't know anything about Jenny's case, Symphony is, would you call her your original altar?
It's almost like Mum had twins. It's the strangest thing. I can't explain it any better. Mum had produced a single-bodied child that had a twin head. There was Jennifer Margaret Linda, the original child, and she lasts 6 months. And then her life, her interaction with the world ceases. Symphony arrives, and it's like I can't remember a time when we didn't have Symphony. There's no moment when she arrived. She was always there. We are the arrivals. So I'm the entity currently known as Jenny, doing the techie-nucky stuff. Symphony created all of us, and quite unconsciously. So the Jenny you're talking to now is an alter. When Symphony arrives, and I know she will, you'll be talking to all intents and purposes, the Jenny that you think you're talking to, that you're not.
So listen, you feel empowered now, and we're all sitting here watching this amazing person in your gorgeous 50s dress, but it took a long time to get justice. You said 24 years, and I feel tired even hearing that number. So what would you fix about the justice system if you could wave a magic wand right now?
Oh, geez, what would I do? First thing, I would, sorry.
Hang on just a second, because the thing you don't realize is she just changed. That was no longer Jenny. She has personalities that come out as a mean teenager, a good-looking 20-year-old guy. It's kind of hard to explain. She had a guy, Eric was 21 years old, and he comes out sometimes. And then she had another guy, his name was Spike, and he was just a teenager, and he comes out sometimes. I believe that right here we have Spike talking to us because of the tone of her voice right here. She also has one named Muscles, he's kind of a teenager too. He looks a little gruff. I mean, in this show that I watched, they actually had pictures drawn of what her perception of what these people would look like if she could show them to you, which I thought that was really fascinating as well. So we're going to listen to this. You'll just pay attention because you'll notice when she changes. It's very noticeable. Here we go.
Hi, Muscles.
Muscles. I was about to say, we're talking to Muscles.
Yeah. First thing I would do is make sure that the police understand that if you have a person who's been abused, you've got to talk to them. Not just get the evidence and bugger off, but actually come back and say, we're working on your case. Don't expect the victim to be able to chase you up, because we can't. We felt a nuisance if we phoned the police. We were wasting their time. I spent so much time trying to get the body to pick up the phone and call the cops and say, how are things going? And the excuses I heard would go, I mean, 4 million words all on their own. But it all came down to, we don't feel like we matter. And when the police say, we'll call you on Tuesday, and then they don't, so you stay home every Tuesday for 6 months because they didn't specify which Tuesday they were going to ring, so you best be home every Tuesday, and then they never ring you. The messages that they give you reinforce what your abuser says, that you're a piece of crap and you don't matter and nobody cares about you. The other thing I would do is I would say historic sex crimes,
Trigger warning,
need to be a priority. I had police officers, adorable police officers, but they're working in Bankstown. You know what happens in Bankstown? Lots of drive-by shootings. So my police officer would sit down. I'm going to work on Jenny's case this night. That's it. Drive-by shooting, poof. Not a thing was done. And then it just gets put in the folder. And that's how come everything takes 10 years.
Okay.
If
hang on
you've
just a
got a
second.
victim,
You know, the thing that we do know about sex crimes, and she's talking about it correctly, historic sex crimes, they are hard to prove. A lot of the times people are not believed. And because it happened a long time ago, it's not as urgent as if it happened now. And so that's part of the problem with, and the fact that, you know, if you've only got a few detectives or you got one person assigned to this, when does he sit down and work on this case if he's also got another caseload over here? Because there was no way that he could only just work on her case. So that's kind of something else about this case that makes it really hard, and it takes a long time. And I understand why she felt the way she felt. So hang on just a second. Let me check at something over here. I want to make sure we're not having an issue, guys. I know it's so hard. It's so hard. So what did she? Yeah. So hang on just a second. Let me make sure everything's still working properly. I just think that this case, it just caught me by surprise. I was like, oh my, this is it's amazing. And the fact that she was able to, hang on, she was able to actually go into a courtroom with her personalities and discuss what happened to her is fascinating. I mean, it really is fascinating. All right, so it's working fine. So we're going to go back, and you may hear Eric speak next. But Muscles talks about being angry. Eric is the one that's very mature, easy to talk to, very different than Muscles. So y'all listen carefully for the switch.
that tells you that they have DID or MPD, you know you're in for the worst kinds of sex crimes possible. Make it a beep priority. Do not put it in the too hard basket.
You can swear.
Really? I got told I had to be beeping for this show.
Oh, did you? Did you?
Yeah, I had to beep.
I feel
for
like
the
we're all
courts.
grown-ups
We're
here, aren't we?
we're all friends,
we're all
right?
grown-ups here.
Well, in that case, if you say you're going to phone somebody, fucking pick up
Trigger
the phone.
warning.
Even if it's, can't talk to you today, but we're working on it. I mean, I got told, one word from you ruined the whole case. I phoned the cop and said, what's the word? If you tell me, I won't use it. Word was extradition, but it took 2 years for them to tell me that. But everything that I did, the secrecy. Okay, so you get fucked by your dad, don't tell. Yeah, and you get abused within the family, don't tell. Then you go to, you leave home if you're lucky, and you start to get into another world, and then you try to talk to people and go, oh, I don't want to hear it, don't tell. Don't tell me, oh, it's too horrible to hear. Then you go to the police and they say, don't tell. And the only people that protects is the fucking abusers. We have a fucked up system in which we grant accused pedophiles, accused child molesters, accused monsters the assumption of innocence.
Amen.
They are innocent until proven guilty.
Amen.
Well, I thought 900,000 words sure as shit proved it. But no, we had to test it in a courtroom. So he's innocent, which makes me an assumed liar for 24 years. I couldn't even put hashtag me too on my freaking Facebook page because that could kill the case because he's watching. So secrecy, we need to have a system in which privacy is something that the victim can ask for, as opposed to it being imposed upon them as a state of play. I had to waive our right to anonymity simply to get his name out there because he's my dad. Therefore, if we identify him, we will automatically identify the victim.
Okay, think about that for a second. And that's true. That's exactly true what she's saying right there. So here we are, and she's talking about the secrecy here and the anonymity and the fact that she can't say anything. And it is true. How often do we hear about the pedophiles, the predators, and they're out there and nobody's doing anything about them? But yet you've got the person that they've afflicted, messed up their entire life over here, huddled in the corner like a child, unable to talk to anybody, while this person just keeps on and on. It is a messed up situation. And it's like that in the UK, it's like that in the USA, it's like that in Australia, it's like that everywhere. So the victims sit in secrecy. The victims sit in embarrassment while the person who did this to them runs amok, does whatever they want to do until all of a sudden one day they think they have enough evidence to finally arrest the person. And with 900,000 words, you can see why it took so long for this to happen. So we'll keep going. Thank you for listening.
Only if you're famous. Only if somebody's looking, and only for family. And if family haven't worked out by the time you've got to court that you're telling the truth, then they're not worth talking to. We had the situation where not allowed to talk meant not allowed to tell, meant you can't get support. If you're not even allowed to hashtag Me Too, how can you get support from counsellors? Some of the numbers you've put up on the screen. We've had difficulty every step of the way because we've had to be quiet. We can't talk about it. It's going through the courts. Well, nobody said it's going to take 10 flipping years.
But also that's reiterating the trauma of actually what happened to you.
The legal process itself, right up to the very end, right up to the day that we walked into court to testify, the legal process, 24 years of it, did nothing but validate my dad. Can't tell, you're a liar. The first thing we do is we go check out your mental health history. Jenny did an enormous spiel in the book about how false
memories.
What's the word? False diagnoses.
Oh,
yes.
Have an impact. If you are labelled as schizophrenic because you are misdiagnosed as schizophrenic instead of having MPD, nobody comes along and rubs out that. It's there for everybody to read. And more importantly, it's there for your abuser and your abuser's lawyers to read. And then your mental health, which is destroyed by them, is now used by your abusers to batter you all over again.
Right.
So
you are re-victimized every step of the way, is what she's talking about. She's re-victimized every step of the way. And it is true. Once they put the word schizophrenic on there, nobody takes that off. Nobody admits that it's a misdiagnosis. It's just there. And how many times have we seen people misdiagnosed with schizophrenia that should have been something else, or with bipolar that should have been something else? I mean, it happens all the time. It's an incredible story, and I feel bad for her. I do. I feel really bad for her. But one of the things she also says in this situation is they are we, us, or them. It's no I. It's always we, us, or them. That is how she sees herself. Even though she's been unfragmented and put back together, that's the way she refers to herself. So just think about that as she keeps talking. I think she's incredibly brave. I will say, I think she's incredibly brave. I think so. Here we go.
My mental health was kept remarkably quiet by the police.
So when we had our Zoom call,
I'm not bonkers.
When we had our Zoom call, you said to me, I said, what is the one thing you want people to know? What's the reason that you wrote the book? And you said to me, I want MPD destigmatise, and I want it to be seen as evidence of a crime.
That's
So
right.
Can you tell me about that?
Yep. MPD or DID, whichever is your particular flavour, only occurs in situations or settings where you are faced with extreme, overwhelming circumstances that you can't escape and you can't change. Now, most of the time, that is childhood sexual abuse. There are other circumstances, war and stuff like that. But again, you've got to be a child. If you've got MPD, the people around you need to be able to go, oh shit, trauma history, really bad trauma history, play gentle. And that will stop people like your family or your friends wanting to hear all the gruesome details. I'm supported under the NDIS, and I've had support workers walk up and I say, so what do you know about me? There's plenty of information out there. What do you know about me? Oh, I know nothing. I prefer to hear it from you. Right, so you prefer to re-traumatize me. Fantastic. Right, where would you like me to start? Shall we go to the babies first, second, or shall we leave them out? It re-traumatizes us. Whereas when I get a good support worker and they say, I've read your file. You don't have to tell me anything. What do you want to do today? They're the ones I keep.
Hi, Scotty.
Hi, Scotty.
Scotty's Jenny's fabulous support worker who just took amazing photos of us.
Yeah.
other things.
Yeah, he's one that walked in and said,
Stop again for fear. I know it's a lot of stopping, but we just have to. But when you think about this, and you know, that's right. You do hear about this all the time, where people will want to know every gruesome detail. And as in her situation or their situation, since she refers to herself as us, them, our. I can understand her not wanting to re-victimize, re-traumatize herself by telling every single detail again. I think that, and I think that people are just naturally curious. So it's just a curiosity of, what do you mean it was so bad that you ended up with multiple personalities? What are you trying to say to us? So people feel like, well, if they don't know this, then they can't accept what she's telling them. They can't accept the fact that she has multiple personalities. So that's just another thing to think about. Even as we grow and we see and we talk to people who may have been traumatized, if we volunteer somewhere and we talk to people who may have been traumatized, not to remember, just remember to not ask them for those details because of what happens to them when our curiosity sets in. So here we go. We'll keep listening.
I read your file. I do not need you to tell me anything. And what he did was, he and others like him took the burden of disclosure off me. And that's what we need to do when you're faced with someone with DID, MPD, or dissociative disorder not otherwise specified, DDNOS. So we've got a DID and then a DOS.
There's a lot of acronyms, isn't there?
I used to say I'm not a DID, I was a done too.
That's funny.
Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
No, it's your show, Jenny.
MPD equals trauma, the worst kinds of trauma. So you're going to be faced with somebody who has trauma. They have difficult relationships with family members, or they may be completely away from their family members, or they may be in a situation where they're trying to back off to give themselves some space so that they can process things. If you say, I prefer to hear it from you, you're basically saying, I don't respect you enough to read the little bit that you wrote for everybody to know about. So DID, MPD equals victim of crime.
Great way to put it.
Not fantasist, playing around or a liar, because you can't fake MPD consistently.
We don't necessarily need to go into this, but one of the most amazing things in Jenny's book, as someone who's had mental health issues myself and written a lot about mental health issues, is the way that you were treated by so-called mental health professionals and the stigmatization there. And then the counterweight to that was when your psychiatrist, Dr. George Blair West, he writes that there's possibly 100 million people on the planet with MPD. So the question I had is, why are we stigmatizing this group, which includes you and 100 million others, when it's so many of us?
Yeah.
Okay. Think about that statement right there. 100 million other people, he believes, could suffer from the same thing. And these people that would suffer from this absolutely came from trauma as a child. They're not saying that every child that was sexually abused as a child is going to grow up and have multiple personalities. That's not what they're saying. But they're saying because it is not monitored, people are not believed, and the diagnosis is not treated, it's not used when it should be used, then all of these people are not they're not known, they're not recognized, they're not getting help. They're still out in the world lost. They're still looking for somebody to just listen to them, for somebody to recognize what happened to them, for them to get dignity back. So I think that's fascinating, the amount of people. Now, I would like to know more information about Dr. West myself. He's quite a fascinating doctor. So here we go. We're going to keep going. Here we go, guys. Thank you for being patient with the stops. We just have to.
Well, the numbers freaked us out.
Yeah, I can imagine.
The numbers were really scary. If you think 100 million people with MPD, hi, I'm Symphony.
Yes, I was going to say, are we talking to Symphony now?
All right.
That's 100 million.
She just changed into sympathy. I know you probably did not catch that change in her voice, but that's what that was. So she went from muscles to sympathy. Now we're talking to symphony, which was her original alter. Here we go.
Million people who grew up in a world like I did, where you can't trust anybody to help you. Your job is to look after the mental and physical well-being of your family. 100 million people living with a monster like my dad, and I'm the first person to get justice. It's terrifying. And it makes me so angry because I'm the first one with MPD to get justice. Why are we leaving the worst cases of abuse to be dealt with by the victim themselves? Because I had, so many disgraceful things said about me. Oh, you can't believe a word Jenny says? She's got multiple personality disorder. So they wouldn't believe my abuse history because I had MPD. The only way I get MPD is to have an abuse history.
Yeah, it's the ultimate catch-22, isn't it?
And so I spent so much time looking after psychologists and counselors, and the chapter on that got written and rewritten, and then we put names in, and then we took names out. But I will say one thing about this. We went to the Australian Federal Police in 1996, and we spoke to the amazing Kim Whitman. And she told me that I needed to go and see counselors. So I did that. And arrangements were made between Kim, representing the AFP, and the support service that is unmentionable. And
For legal reasons.
For legal reasons. Yeah. Because the unmentionables promised to take notes. They promised to document everything I said, so I didn't have to say it again, and it was going to go in as evidence. Now, Kim worked her butt off to get evidence to support me, to support my sister in the UK, who was also attempting to get justice. And I only went for justice to support her and to protect her. And the unmentionables decided that I had MPD, therefore I was crazy. So they didn't bother to document anything. So all of Kim's hard work was wasted because the evidence was there. I re-experienced what Dad did to me in front of these people. They should have videoed me. They would have seen exactly what this monster did. But because I have MPD, they didn't believe me. And so my first ever disclosures, and of course, for the police, the first ever disclosures are the most important. They are the benchmark, and they check if your story changes over time, which it doesn't. And this group of obnoxious women failed to document anything. And
so imagine that scenario. She's told, okay, you need to go see counselors. She's sent over to this group. We're going to take care of this. We're going to write it down. They don't understand her. They don't understand DID, right? They don't understand it at all. So they feel like, oh, she just must be crazy. Now, listen, they're very different things. Being crazy, there's no such thing as being crazy. It's whatever your mental diagnosis is. It's mental illnesses, right? So from people not understanding, they just throw it to the side like she's making it up. She's making it up. So she's being discounted once again. And that was, did she say 1999? She's being discounted once again. So as she's going through this, through trying to get help for herself or her inner child or this other person. In other words, she talks about her sister in the UK. Well, that is when she went to the UK to try to file these charges against her dad in the UK because somebody else had some charges against him, and she was not believed in the UK either. So it's quite a lot to keep up with, but you can understand what happens when every time you make a statement, you're not believed. They don't write it down, they don't take it serious, and then every time you have to tell the story, you're re-victimized again. So this is very traumatic over and over. And here we go.
They undermined my court case to the point that my dad was able to plead not guilty to me, and the judge in the UK said that he'd said he was not guilty, therefore he was not guilty. I've never forgiven the English for that, you know. So I've been declared a liar under English law. Because he did a plea bargain, because he knew that if he pled guilty to me, he'd never get out of jail. And look, he pled guilty to me and got 45 years in jail. Oops.
One of the things that you did in your book, which is actually quite hard to read, is the abuse that you detail is quite graphic. Why did you make the decision to describe what happened to you in that way, what your dad did to you?
In many texts about abuse, it's hinted at. It's obliterated by euphemisms and, oh, we won't go there.
Right.
And we made a conscious decision that we would tell at least a teaspoonful of what happened. And then we edited out half the teaspoon. Because if people don't know what an extreme abuse is like, they can't recognize it and they don't believe it when it's right in front of them. If we live in a world of euphemisms, we provide cover once again for our abusers. And if I say, oh, he touched me, he hurt me, you've got no idea what that means. If I say he made me pregnant at 10, you got a very clear idea of what he did to get me to that point, and which he did, unfortunately. It's not right not to tell. People need to know. And sure, we get to do the butt-naked Watusi, and we did that all through the book, and we waved our tail feathers, and you all got to hear quite a bit. But I can assure you, what you got in the book is the edited version of the edited book. Because we wrote, rewrote, and then the lawyers say, no, can't put that word in. So take it out. What's a better word? Put a different word in. No, we don't like that one either. The problem is that by the time you get past your own filters, the publication filters, the legal filters, there's substantial parts of my story that are not in that book because they were eliminated for legal reasons.
In other words, she's telling her story, and because it is so graphic, it is being sugar-coated instead of being exactly what it is. And I think that's really unfair, but you got to understand, if you're going to sell these books, and you're going to sell them worldwide, you know she is. I guess in some places you would not be able to sell the book. Well, just like some of our YouTube videos that we make. Some of them, if you've got music from, I don't know, some certain bands, it will be banned and not be played in Russia because it's got those words in the lyrics. And so, people don't get exposed to the real facts. They just get exposed to what's acceptable facts to everyone. And I think that's really unfortunate because I think in cases like this, the real facts need to come out. Now, what I'm not familiar with, because this was not discussed in the show that I saw today, was at what age did he make her pregnant? And what happened in that situation. That's something I don't know the answer to. And she's talking about it now, but I can't help with that. So we're going to go back and listen to some more. And again, I'm so sorry we're having to take so many breaks, but I just don't want to deal with a copyright strike because this is such important material. People need to see that it is real. It is not made up. These people exist out there, and it happens more than you think it happens. Here we go.
And while I respect that, there are parts of it that really irk me because my story, while being ultimately joyous, there were 14 years of shit to sort of swim through first. And what I wrote in the book that ultimately got taken out of the book for legal reasons was a demonstration of enormous psychological growth. But because it was about a person that I wasn't supposed to talk about, it got cut. And what got cut was the story of my coming to terms with what my father did that occurred within the family unit and impacted everybody in that family unit. And it took me years to go from, I hate you, to, you'd have never done this if not for Richard John Haynes. Any other man in your world, any other father, you'd have been a great sibling. But I had to cut it. And it irks me. It really irks me because I grew. I grew from the first page of that chapter all the way through to the end of that chapter, and we lost that. But, got to respect the lawyers.
Solidarity, Jenny, because I've done a lot of reporting in this area of childhood sexual abuse and also domestic abuse, and a lot of our laws stop a lot of stories being told.
They do.
Yeah.
Especially if we've got two jurisdictions here. We've got the English 7 years and we've got the Australian 7 years. So Australia could only do the bits that took place in their country. Yeah. We need a legal system that actually allows for a recognition that just because it happened outside of your jurisdiction doesn't mean it didn't happen. And we need some courageous law changes that say a country, in my case, England or Australia, can say, we're going to do the whole story. And yes, the laws in England are different, but we're going to apply the English laws to what occurred in England, but tell the whole story. Because there are people out there that think I survived from 4 till 11 and then it was all over. But six weeks old through to 14 years old. It's a bigger, bolder story. And I tried to capture that in the book without necessarily breaching
all the laws.
It's a minefield.
We are going to take some audience questions in a moment, but I have one question that I really need to ask you, and it's a hairy question.
Yes.
Okay, so let's take a little break before she asks that question and talk for a minute. And she's absolutely right. Why is it that you can't discuss the whole story just because certain laws apply in one? I mean, she's one person. She lived in both countries. This happened in both countries. But she's unable to discuss what happened in Australia when she's talking about what happened in the UK and telling her story there. And then she's in Australia and unable to talk about what happened to her in the UK and bring that into the story, even though it's the same monster responsible for all of it. I mean, this is heinous. It's horrific. And just let me remind you, she's not the only one. These kind of things happen every single day in every country in this world. How many of these predators are never brought to justice? How many children are never believed? How many adults are never believed? How many mothers can't see it because they're afraid of the man themselves from whatever trauma he's done to the mother? It brings me back to Stephen Stearns. It brings me back to a few of these monsters that we have seen just in the last year and what they've done and what ended up happening to these children. It's unthinkable that a father, your own flesh and blood, you're doing this to your own flesh and blood. But let me ask you this. How many of you believe that the father himself must have been sexually abused as a child as well, because they repeat what they were taught? All right, here we go. And this is going to be the final question.
About this book, one of the things that is remarkable is that none of the adults around you took care of you. None of them paid attention or took it to the police or did the things that, as a mum, I just can't understand. I cannot understand this child going through this obvious abuse and no one paid attention. And the character at the centre of this is your mother. She's living in the house with your family and your father. And at times she seemed almost willfully blind. She's bathing you. You've got infections because of the abuse that your dad caused. You've got marks, terrible injuries to your body. And the question that I ask, and I know a lot of us here will be asking, is how could your mother not know?
Okay. That is the hairiest question of them all. It's a question that I've had a range of responses to over the years. I've defended, I've protected, but when people talk about abuse and they talk about, I would have known, how can you not have seen? Okay, I can't explain why my mum didn't see, but I can explain what I did to make sure that she didn't see.
Okay.
Over 1,000 altars were created simply to protect Mum. They were led by Captain Busby, who I can feel is fast approaching. Their job was to protect Mum from Dad. Now, a mother reading my book may say, I would have seen, I would have known.
Okay.
But
let's think about that for just a second, because it is the same question we had to Jen Soto. How could you not see? How could you not know what Stephen Stearns was doing to Maddie? How did you not know? Well, then you've got to wonder, and now I'm starting to wonder after listening to Jenny over here. Was Madeline at any point trying to hide this from her mother out of some thought that she needed to protect her mother from knowing this? And that's a question I now have. Let's finish listening to this.
that implies that you would have picked up on differences. How is my child different? They've been away for a school camp or they've been away for whatever, and they've come back and they're different. I was never different. I was always abused. It's not like I suddenly changed because Dad started abusing me at 12. I didn't. I was abused from pretty much the minute I breathed. I was the punching bag, the slave, the scapegoat of my family. I had to protect my two siblings and my mom from my dad at all costs. I didn't change. Changing meant that you could be seen. Hello, I'm Captain Busby. And hi, Mum, I know you're listening to this. Mum couldn't see because I was busy hiding. If I got a bruise and she asked about it, he told me, if I tell my mother, she will drop down dead in front of me. She will burn to death in a case of spontaneous human combustion. I'm not risking my mum. I fell at school. I knocked my leg multiple times against the desk at school. Multiple times, yes. It's a big one, so lots of times. I had to lie. And Symphony finds this really difficult because we pride ourselves on our honesty. We are honest when we should shut our mouths, really. But we couldn't be, because if we tell the truth, Dad's doing this. And bear in mind, I don't have the words for it. It's not like he tells me what he's doing. All he tells me is I'm a dirty little girl and I deserve it. It's punishment, or it's games. Stopped being games when I told Mum that I didn't like them, and the next day they became punishments. But I tried to tell. I did, but he told me she could read my mind. So I willed at her what he was doing. But he told me he could read my mind. And if I even thought about telling, he would kill my siblings. So is it reasonable to expect me to be able to tell when the next thing I know, Frank could be dead on the floor in front of me, or Sheila could be strangled? I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that because I love my family. I love my mum. I would do anything for my mum. She's my reason for existing. She's my job. And my job was to keep her safe from the monster in our house. Why Mum didn't see, I can't answer. But I can tell you this. Mum is a victim of domestic violence and coercive control.
So let's talk about that for a second. So is Jen Soto a victim of domestic violence and control? Is that what happened there? Is that what's happened in a lot of these cases, that these children are so afraid of this man that they lie to their mother in order to hide what's happening because they fear their mother's going to get hurt? I mean, this opens up a whole different door, a whole different thought process about what I had for Jen Soto and some of these other mothers, because I am one of those people, and I'm going to admit it. I'm one of those people that said, how would you not know? What do you mean you don't know? How would you not notice? See, and so this just brings the truth home that maybe that is why these mothers don't know. We'll let her finish, and then we'll start talking about this. I hope y'all find this very informative and and just something we need to talk about. So here we go. Let's let her finish.
Everybody in a family where sex abuse is going on is a victim of domestic violence and coercive control, because that is the essence of the psychopath that lives in your family.
Thank you.
She couldn't afford to see, because what do? This is the 70s. Divorce is not exactly good, the top choice in the 70s. Even in the 80s, when she got divorced, she was met by a friend in the ladies' toilets who told her not to divorce the husband because things will change and, your children will move out eventually. Thankfully, she did not take that piece of advice, but nonetheless, it was given.
Yeah.
People will say, I stayed with my husband for the children. Get out now while you have the chance, because you don't want to stay with someone who's abusive for your children, because your children are their prime victim. Dad did things to me and said things to me about my mom that I didn't know whether to believe. Your mum knows I'm doing this. Your mum sent me to do this. Why would I tell my mother if she already knows?
Yeah. It's a very complicated situation, which your book does really unpick in an incredible way.
We have to remember, with children, it's the adult's responsibility to draw conclusions. It's not the child's responsibility to tell you in explicit detail what's happening to them, because we don't have the words. I mean, I didn't even know it was a penis until I drew 12 copies of it, having told the police, no, I never saw his penis. I never knew the name of this thing. I was 39 and saying, no, I never saw it, because I didn't know the name. He didn't tell me. And my mom grew up in a family of secrets, as I've said. One of the things that wasn't secret.
Here's the thing now. Here's something else I'm thinking about. Well, if she's talking about her mother grew up in secrets, was her mother already sexually abused as a child, just like she was sexually abused, just like maybe her father was sexually abused, and that's why this went on, as that both of her parents came from backgrounds like that? That's something we don't know, but it would seem to me based on what I'm hearing, that is a real possibility. But we'll let her finish talking. This is amazing.
Was when her parents punished her or her brother. And it was done publicly, and the non-punished child would giggle and point at the one being punished. And when Mum grew up, got her own family, she decided the punishments were going to be private because she didn't want a rerun of what had happened in her world.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, she'd married a man who thought that all his Christmases had come at once with this rule. And so punishments were private. And in 14 years of abuse, nobody ever walked in on me and Dad. It's a miracle. Nobody ever came in when he was hurting me. And yet, this was, for many years, this was a daily affair. But I couldn't tell Mum. Didn't have the words.
And I know this is a challenging question to answer because your mum is actually listening to the live stream and watching the live stream. Now, I do want to make sure we've got time for questions because you said to me that it was very important to you that people got to ask questions. I'm just going to have a quick look at the time. We are almost out of time. I do want to say, if anyone wants to ask.
Now, we're gonna stop watching this here because I don't, the audience questions, we may not need to hear those. But let me take this off of there, and we're gonna take this off. Let me stop sharing this screen right here. Now, this story and what went on in that home to that child, and to the point that she went so many years before anybody did anything about it. It is a very and it's opening a lot of, I hope it opens minds for other people just like it's opening for me, because I'm so guilty of saying, why didn't your mother know? I would have known. I've never raised girls, and I've never experienced or knew anybody that experienced this that I know of, because nothing was ever said to me by anybody that experienced any of these things. So, Cinderella, if you're there, are you still here with me? Because I see that you have muted your mic. But if you are there, I want you to tell me what you think about what we just watched, because it is very, very telling, disturbing, horrific. And I hope that somebody sees, I hope somebody watches this and realizes what I've just realized about Jen Soda, about so many of these other mothers that we have actually said, why are you not being charged? Why did you not know? Right? Because Cinderella, we might be wrong. Sprinkle Donut, we might be wrong. We might need to rethink that based on what we've just seen and heard. I don't have a lot of words to say about this because I know there's so much of it she could not say. And I understand why she didn't want to say it, because we never want to re-victimize anybody. We want her to keep whatever dignity she's managed to get back for herself through this situation. But did you notice, did you notice when she switched the personalities, you could kind of tell that her voice was changing into this next person? But I find it fascinating that she was able to tell us when this person was coming. I think what I want to do is let's go out and pull up Dr. Lewis's, and I know this is really not the best example to use, but I want to pull up Dr. Lewis's DID of look at Letitia Stouch, because you will be able to see the difference between lingering, which was Letitia Stouch, and real DID, which is what we've just seen. So let's do that real quick. Y'all bear with me for a second. We'll just talk amongst yourselves while I pull this up. Let's see. It's going to be Dr. Lewis's, hang on a minute. Dr. Lewis testimony. Hang on. All right. Okay, Letitia. All right, let's see if I can get this to pull up real quick, and we'll look at it real fast. Dorothy Lewis's testimony right here. No, I'm not going to use hers. Find a different one right here. Okay, who is this? No, I don't want to use hers. Okay, psychiatrist cross-examined. Who is this? The trial channel. Who else? Let me try to find. Well, we'll use. Okay, we're going to use from the Ward case study. We're going to use hers to take a look at. I know she doesn't mind sharing with us. So bear with me while I get this started, and we're just going to listen for a little bit here. Okay. You know, I love the Word case studies. We talk to each other a lot. We share a lot of things. But anyway, so we're going to listen to it for just a second. Let's get this over here. Okay, now this is going to be Dr. Dorothy Lewis. Let me share my screen. All right, there we go.
Talk. I know you guys can't hear it, but his voice was in my ear. And hey, Allie,
Okay,
he
here we
has
go.
a great voice.
Yes, I love Judge
I
Warner.
Can't
I don't even
have
care that
somebody
he made a
talking
mistake.
in my ear and talk to you guys at the same time. My brain just won't do it. I don't know what the deal is.
All right.
But he's going over the exhibits, and so let's listen in and see what's what. Okay.
All right, here we go. Yeah, you can't
Let's
watch
see what they're
anything
gonna
about
do this
Jen
morning.
Soto. I know. Cinderella, I know.
Once
I just have questions
this
now.
really gets
It's
underway,
questions.
you guys know that I'll switch the layout and I'll make it where
Okay, here we
we
go.
can.
Let's get Dr. Lewis going here. Thank you, Ward Case Studies, for sharing with us. I'll talk to you about it later, but I kind of needed it to talk about what I'm talking about right now. Okay, here we go. Stop looking at the exhibits. I want to hear her testimony. Here we go.
Muted everything. Volume is up.
All right.
Closed captioning is on. We are good to
I think
go.
she's coming into the courtroom.
All right.
I'll let her know I'm borrowing a little bit of her work right now.
Thank you. May all be
All
seated.
right.
Court will recall 20 CR 1358 People versus Letitia Stout. Record should reflect the jury has returned to the courtroom. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a little better here today. Working on splitting that difference thing seems to be helping out a little bit. Let's hope it stays that way. Again, has anything occurred since we were last together?
Okay, come on, let's go. Let's go. Come on. All right, don't stop. Don't stop. Okay, why is it stopping?
This judge.
All right, here we go. Let's get this going.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Could you please state your full name and spell your last name for
Sure.
the court reporter who's seated right in
Sure.
front of you?
It's Rhonda, Ronda. And you need my middle name too?
Last name's.
Okay. Niederhauser, Nieder.
I might have to switch over to the other one. Hang on.
How are you employed?
So I work at Fort Carson. I work at Evans Army Medical Hospital, and I work in Ivy Medical Clinic. It's a primary care.
I want to get to Dr. Hang on. I want to get to Dr. Lewis, not this person.
Zina's.
Okay, hang on. Let's go. Hang on just a second. Let me see if I can find it right over here. Okay, I might have to go. Oh, is she going to come in the afternoon? Let's see.
We will see you at 1 o'clock.
Okay, so they come back after lunch. Let's see. Let's see. Hang on a second, guys. Let me see if I can get this to pull back up right. All right, let's go back over to
245.
Here we go. We're going to pull this back up for Dr. Lewis. Let's see if I can find it. That is Dr. Lewis right here. Well, we can use maybe not Dr. Lewis. I want to use somebody here we go. Okay, let's see if we can put it right here. Hang on a second, guys. Let me get it pulled up, back up. Just hang on a second. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry.
Marriage and some crime was committed.
Because so you request.
All right. I kind of want to talk a little bit more about dissociative identity disorder.
Okay.
During direct examination yesterday, you mentioned that there was some controversy with regards to that diagnosis. Could you expand on that? What is the controversy surrounding that diagnosis?
Well, the essential controversy is whether people believe it exists or not. I could give you an example of that. When I inquired of the chair of our department many years ago, did he believe that this existed? He said, I don't know. I have never seen it. And this is the kind of resistance there is to it. It's becoming more recognized, and it's in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual now, so that it's gaining acceptance, understanding. Also, I think with the ability to photograph things and to show things, it's becoming a more well-recognized disorder. Dissociation has been long recognized. It was
Okay.
really described very well by Freud.
Got it. In your book, you mentioned that oftentimes people can act out multi-personality disorder or dissociative identity
I
disorder.
think this is what I need
And
as
there's been
kids.
several movies that kind of portray that. Do you recall talking about that?
All right.
No, but I'm aware that there are movies such as, I think, Sybil and others like that where this has been done, and more recently in movies.
And the movie Sybil was based on a true life story, right?
That's correct. But I think Cornelia, a very, very well respected psychiatrist, wrote about it, and it has been also made into a movie.
And the actual person that Sybil is named for actually turned out that that person was faking multi-personality disorder. Do you remember that?
I'm sorry, I'm not familiar enough with the case so that I can't comment intelligently about it.
Okay. Have you worked with any actors and helping them in their roles in movies?
No, I don't. Wait 1 moment. In their roles in dissociation?
Yes. Cape Fear, Robert De Niro.
I have assisted Robert De Niro in. I don't think it had to do with DID. I think it had to do with a different movie that he was making that where I agreed to assist them, but I don't believe it had to do with DID.
Had to do with him being a psychopath?
It had to do with his being a very dangerous guy.
And that's the movie Cape Fear, where he's a murderer and he has an urge to kill and things like that. I don't know all the details of the movie, but
Right.
is that a fair summary of it?
I don't know. There was a better one earlier than his that is a far better Cape Fear.
The
But
original.
I did assist him in it, and he did. I did give him access to some tapes that we had of people with different kinds of disorders.
Did they include dissociative identity disorder?
Among them, there were some that did, some that didn't. Yes.
So how do you tell if someone's acting and they want you to believe that they have multi-personalities?
Well, I can tell you what I do.
Tell us, please.
Okay. What I like to do is be able to show that there were unmistakable signs of these kinds of switches, changes, different states, different abilities to function long before I was ever asked to be involved in any case. And so that is one of the best ways. I think that's the best way. It's that to my mind, if I'm teaching, I will say to students, this is as close as you get to an MRI in this field, where you have something that was done. And again, I repeat, you can't retrospectively malinger. You can't write your name in a funny way or pretend to be somebody when you're 18, because when you're 35, you're planning to kill someone and you think you need a good excuse. That makes no sense. So that it's important for me and for the people with whom I work to be able to, well, identify in any number of ways whether these signs, symptoms, behaviors antedated any difficulty with the law or any current issue.
Sure. Things like family members coming in and saying, God, she didn't remember my name for long periods of time, or she blacked out and couldn't remember where she was at.
What are you referring to now?
For signs of dissociative identity disorder, retroactive.
No, that
wouldn't mean anything to you?
Well, that alone, no, that's very little bit. However, if you let's say you're looking through somebody's work and you're looking through their their high school, notebooks, or you're looking through early pictures, early signatures, things of that nature, and that these things way antedated any problematic behaviors later on, that, any legal issues. That is the kind of thing where, well, we found, for example, in the workbooks of children at school, where we've gone through them and we have found a different name that was used, and that was used at different times.
And so if I could, Dr. Lewis, you're saying that the writing would be more important than an individual saying, I blacked out for long periods of times. I have no recollection of what happened, and there's no explanation.
I'm sorry.
Cell phones off, please.
I think it may be.
Okay.
Your cell phone, Dr. Lewis.
It might be.
Okay. All right.
She is hard to follow. I understand that she is hard to follow when she's on the stand. But the point of listening to her is, she's talking about, well, if a child used a different name, was that DID? Because she's trying to claim, well, because Letitia Stouch would call herself Taylor because she didn't like her name, well, then she must have DID. But that is very, very different than we just saw with Jenny Haynes. Okay? So that's why we're watching this. Here we go.
Mozart.
It's very nice.
Yeah, can you turn it silent?
I'm trying to find it.
Sure.
Yes. Okay. Well, okay, this should do it.
Okay.
Let's.
I'm going to give it to Eric.
Why don't you give it to Eric?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Let me know when you're ready, Dr. Lewis.
And I'm sorry, I don't recall your last.
I'll re-ask it. You ready?
Mhm.
So is it more important to you to look at someone's prior handwritings than evidence of someone saying they had blackout periods and couldn't remember where they were at, and they couldn't remember their loved ones' names and things like that?
Your second examples just don't ring true, because it just is not something that people tend to tell me. And you can't measure this versus that. Often there have to be several things and combinations of signs, symptoms, behaviors. What is particularly useful is whether acquaintances or family members or people who have known the person over time have said, gee, when this person was such and such an age, he or she insisted on being called this and acted differently and did different things, so that it's a piece of data. And but that in and of itself, there is no single thing that you look for. But at least in the cases where we have felt that we were dealing with the real thing, there have been multiple evidence that at earlier times, for example, I noticed in some of my notes about Leticia that someone had said when she was younger, and I forgot this yesterday, when she was younger, she asked to be called Maria. And I had forgotten that yesterday.
Can you point me out where you found that information?
I'd have to look through all of this, but I can later if you like. I'll find it for you. It's just a note that I took because I thought it was interesting.
But what was it, in an interview, or where did you get that note?
As I say, rather than take up the time of the court and look through all of this, I will find it for you. But I just noticed it in the past maybe several hours or so, and I can find it for you because.
Well, here's the deal. I only have a X amount of time to talk to you.
Right. Yes.
And so I can't really let this linger around because it's pretty significant.
I think so. Yes.
What I think would be far more interesting. Let me see if we can show when she actually sat down with Letitia Stouch. It's day 18 right here. I need to find the right person for day 18. Okay. The trial channel. Let's see. I'm not going to use that person's. Let's go find day 18. Hang on a second, guys. Day 18. because it's fascinating what you see Letitia do. This is absolutely malingering, period. It absolutely is. Okay, here's day 18, and this is long crime. Hang on a minute, y'all. Let's switch this out. All right,
But I also did some.
hang on a minute. I want to show when she's actually talking to Dr. Lewis and they're having this interview. Hang on a minute, guys. Okay, hang on.
To the matters that I have in your report. Record should reflect the jury has returned to the courtroom.
From New York and from
Not
Connecticut.
that part. We want to see the video. I'm trying to find the video.
And it was a stagger. These kinds of
I
jail
think they're about to
documents.
play it here.
I've looked out of the car, and where a child has tried to jump out of the car and has been saved.
It's gonna be right
daily
here,
enemas as
maybe.
being sexual in nature as far as when they were given by her grandfather, correct?
Objection, leading.
I don't know.
Spade. Jury will-
You or to me,
Let's
they
see- let's
make
see
no
if
sense.
they
They're
play
silly.
Did she, back to the events and questions and how she was describing it to you, what did she describe symptoms that could or experience?
Oh, come on, show it to us. I want to see where she's in the. Hang on, guys. There is an interview that she does, and it's just her and Letitia in the room, and that is what I'm trying to pull up.
It had a chaotic quality, and it happened shortly after, as I recall it, shortly after I became aware of her seeming to move into her Maria persona.
All right, here we go.
And
Let me see if we can find Maria.
At the time of the death of Gannon.
Hang on,
Yes.
hang on, guys. It's pretty interesting when they show this video because you can see Letitia malingering 100%. We might have to, let me see, go back.
All
right.
Let me see.
Stepfather from 20 years ago.
Okay, it might be over here. Hang on. Oh, come on, I want to find that. So then they go to lunch. Just a second, guys. Okay, then they're going to get Dr. Lewis in there. I kind of remember this.
So then you went back to Yale to specialize in psychiatry.
Yeah, that's when
correct?
she went to school. She's talking about school. All right.
in psychiatry.
In psychiatry.
Okay.
Your Honor, at this point in time, I would offer Dr. Lewis as an expert in psychiatry and ask her to be
Okay.
allowed to issue opinions in accordance with.
Okay, we're going to watch this for just a little bit here and see if we can get her to pull it up.
Yes. Good afternoon, Dr. Lewis. How are you doing?
Hello,
My name's Dave Young. You and I have never met, correct?
correct.
I just want to ask a couple questions about what you're doing now. What does semi-retired mean?
Yeah, what does that mean,
Well,
Dr. Lewis?
I've retired from teaching regularly at NYU and at Yale, although I may give a talk now and then, or in another setting, I may be invited to do a presentation or give a talk. And I'm working on analyzing data. We have a great deal of data that have never yet been analyzed, so that I'm working on that and working on writing and on occasion accepting a case such as
All right,
this
hang on a minute. I found it.
to assist
Let me
in
see, it's
the
called
diagnosis
During
or,
the interview, and this is on
of
Maria.
it's usually of a
We're
violent
gonna play this.
individual.
Let's go pull up Maria instead. Hang on. This is more important. It's Maria. That's what we're looking for is Maria, because this is where you see the difference between Miss Jenny Hayes and Letitia Stouch, malingering versus the real thing. So let me find this on Law and Crime because I want to use theirs. It's a little 7-minute skit. Hang on a second. Let's see. Just a second, guys. Okay. Now look. Maria speaks, right? And oh, well, this is Alex Erickson's. I'm sure she doesn't. Okay. We'll watch this one for a second. Maybe we can get it to show. Hang on a second. Hang on. Is it going to play here?
Here, I'm going to play this clip. So this
Okay.
Bernice
I want to just find Maria. That's all I want to see is Maria. Hang on a second. Let's find Maria here. Okay, watch this and listen to this. All right, this
she
is it.
said, that's what I do. She kept saying, I protect people. If you guys couldn't understand her, she said, I took the gun and I fired at someone.
All right, here we go. We're going to go back and listen carefully what Alex is saying.
Take it serious.
Right. It's not like you are doing press for the HBO movie and you need to roll up late with your entourage. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, not movie, but
Okay.
Okay.
Now watch carefully and
This is
listen
so
carefully.
infuriating. She's an awful actress.
Let me turn it up. Now, why can't you hear that? I know it's a little bit hard to listen to, but because it's not very loud. Play it from here. Let me see if it'll play from here. Oh, wait a minute, guys. I might be able to play it from right here. All right, this is a better example. So we're going to stop this. We're going to share the screen from a different spot. Okay, hang on. I found it without all that. Okay, here we go. Let's play it from over here, and you'll be able to hear it and see it better, okay? Here we go. All right, this is going to be from Law and Crime. Thank you, Law and Crime. Here we go. And let's go. I don't know if I can make it bigger. We'll try. Come on.
People, and people are always doing this to people. This is what I'm going to do.
All right.
And then people
Law
are
and
inside
Crime.
your home, or inside my home. I'm going to protect them. Do you understand that?
It's going to keep going. Hang on. Let's keep going here. Hang on. I mean, it stops for a minute, but it's because she stops. Just bear with me while you watch this because she stops and she messes around and she pretends she's somebody else. Here we go. Completely malingering. Come on. Why is it going so slow? Look, he's moving slow too over there.
Where? Do you know where you are? Yeah. And who have I talked to? Taylor. Taylor. And I'm question. Taylor, do you know what just happened? Yes, ma'am. What? Yes, ma'am. What just happened? You're asking about my girlfriend? I asked her to read one. Oh, we were talking about Fred? I don't know. It's good Fred here. Prison though. Yeah, he did work at Prison. I think it was in Lumberton, North Carolina. Where? Lumberton, North Carolina. Yeah. We didn't know what just happened with you. No. Something really sketchy. Then.
Really?
So you with someone who said
I protect them. I protect them. I always protect them. I don't have anything else.
See if we can go back. Hang on just a second. I'm see if we can go back and listen to her be Maria just a second. See if they can, see if it's
I'm
gonna.
not gonna let people be hurt because I don't do this to me. They, if someone is trying to hurt people, I'm going to make sure they're okay. Because that is what I do each and every time. I'm going to always make sure that people are going to be okay.
So I don't want. Could you just let me?
Understand why I'm always being asked what is going on in here, because this is my job to do things for people and to protect them. Because it's what I have to do.
That is, who are the protector?
I'm going to always do that because if people are molesting kids and people are hurting kids, this is what I do for them. And if people are hurting elderly people and people are always doing this to people, this is what I'm going to do. And if people are inside your home or inside my home, I'm going to protect them. Do you understand that?
But you don't want me to everything.
Let me see. Hang on a second.
Where did it's the let you protect?
Let me see if she comes up as Maria yet. Hang on. We'll go back past that just a little bit because I want to see Maria come out because that's when you really see her malingering, feigning, lying, the whole thing. But Dr. Lewis over here is so ridiculous that she tries to believe her. Okay, so let's go past that one because she's trying to be Taylor right there. All right, hang on just a second, guys. It's kind of fascinating.
Do you know what just happened?
It's terrible, right? What the hell, right?
What?
Yes, ma'am.
What just happened?
You asked me about my girlfriend.
I asked her to grab one
We were talking about Fred.
and it's good to Fred here. Prison dog.
Yeah, he did work at a prison. I think it was in Lumberton, North Carolina.
Where?
Lumberton, North Carolina.
Yeah. But you know what just happened with you? No. Somebody really said she. Then.
I know it's hard to hear. I'm so sorry.
You someone who said, I protect them. I protect them.
Sorry.
Sorry. Who was I talking about? What was the son?
Oh, I don't know. I just think,
Who was the protector?
oh, sorry.
I don't get it.
I was saying sorry. I don't know what we were talking about. We were talking about Fred. That's all I remember.
Look at her smiling and
You told
pretending.
me that it was a kind of phase. Things. Who would be the protector?
Oh, my protector is Maria.
Here we go. Listen carefully.
Maria, I don't like very much to talk with you.
If you want to talk to Maria, I don't know. Sometimes she'll talk. Sometimes she won't.
Whatever it is, I love it for you. Taylor.
Yeah.
Taylor. You will consider that. Stay. Taylor, where is your special place? You go when say Maria is allowed.
I like to go hang out and drink some wine and be by the beach and hang out with Tyler.
Well, I would like to go there and let me know with Maria. And we'll do it. But now I'd like you to put this special place and Maria, I need to talk to you. Because Maria, you have a lot of control. What is that correct?
I think she does for sure, but
I need to talk with you.
yeah.
I know you're hearing. And you don't have.
Okay, let's see if I want her to keep going. I don't want to stop on this because it's fascinating when she starts this bullshit, pretending that she's speaking Russian and all this other garbage. It's crazy. 708. Well, it might be on the next one. No, I want it to be on this one. I want to see Maria come out. All right, let's go back over here and get Maria to come back out. Okay, so that was 70 during an interview, famous psychiatrist. There we go. Let's see. Let me see. I think this is also a long crime. So, oh, here we go. Yes, here we go. This is long crime as well. All right. Oops, let me share my screen. All right, there we go.
Like Maria called me. No, like Maria sometimes calls them band-aid. She is called B-A-D.
Let me make this bigger.
Like that would be like, it's like Spanish for asshole, but like, that's all she gets mad at. But they always asshole. Yeah. Really? Well, he's not really an asshole, but he was. Yeah, that's part of it. No, it's, I don't know Spanish, but she does. Well, only, yeah, the basic, but if you talk to her, she knows Spanish. Who knows? Maria does. Maria knows the point. Yeah. That's it. Any other language? No. I know that my friend says she's taught Russian to her. But
Be prepared.
ready to sit in front of her. I don't. And you're not aware of any Russian kind of aspect of you. I know I've been to like a lot of countries and ended up there and I've had to adapt to them and I know that I'm able to talk to people there. That's sort of what you're telling me.
Damn, I wish it was so clear.
I've been to all the islands, all the Caribbean islands. Yeah. And I need to sit back further and just, it's too hard to see her from here. Can we move perhaps I can just move the wheelchair over there and look
Sure.
up here.
I can help
Okay.
you out.
Get past
We paused it at 13.
All right, here we go.
Let's see what.
Let's get her moved around for a minute because I really want you to see Maria in action. Here we go. Yes, because she's in a wheelchair and all this stuff.
Okay.
So here we go. All right. Here we go. Let's go, Maria.
Yes.
Yeah. I think, however, I think this is better.
Okay, that's fine. You'll just need to, if you're going to be asked any questions or give any answers from there, you'll just need to speak up so everybody can hear you because the microphone's not there and there are jurors behind you.
And it may be easier, like when there's a question, then I'll just
Okay.
turn her that
We
way.
can do
That's
that.
okay with Mr. Young.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
Hey, we'll go ahead and resume the video at 13:11.
What the date of this, just so I have.
Sure, it's November 15th, 2022 in the morning. Okay, here we go.
She's a princess, went to Dubai, living. She's a princess, she went to Dubai. She's not a part of you, or she is. And so Jazz, what part of you is that? She's risky, like she doesn't look as like she's very risky. What do you call it? Like risky, yeah, like.
I think yeah, he's the CC.
Let's say, like, get me in trouble. Yes. Can't lie, party alone. I'm not a partner. You're not a partner. So I was just getting the picture. So like what happened is something really happens where they're like really stressed out. I can be at like work and be okay and something stressful will happen and then I'll just end up somewhere you'll end up on the plane. Do you know how you got to the plane? It's like my body goes through the motions. Like obviously I gotta get a passport by taking it, but then I don't really remember doing all of it. You don't remember? I know it sounds crazy, but no, it doesn't. But like, okay, so like, if you see my credit card's by me, and I'm like, oh, okay, obviously she did it, because obviously it's under my name, it's easy to, and my body's gotta know that's whose credit card he got claims to be able to pay for it, but then at the same time, like, I won't know I've done it until I'm on the plane, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to this place, or I'm going to that place. Find yourself where, not really, I did a lot, it's in the past. You just drinking wine, like, oh, I didn't remember this wine bottle. Simple things like that, all the way up until being in another country. I did that a lot where my daughter's in Texas and I'm like, Mom, it says you're in the middle of the ocean. I'm like, oh, I am. Because, and where are you? One time I was in Jamaica. So you were there, fine. Oh, I got a plane to go to Jamaica, but I was also at work that party and let me in with me. Well, so maybe Josh could look at.
I mean, she's just lying. You can clearly tell she's just lying. You know, it's ridiculous. Well, I guess we're not going to get to hear the part where she starts speaking Russian, but it is crazy, the lying, the malingering, the pretending, because that is what she has done. But you can clearly tell that Jenny Haynes is not pretending anything. You know, she, it's fascinating because, you know, the whole thing about Letitia Stouch's trial was she was trying to claim she had DID and she didn't remember doing any of this to that child. Well, bullshit. See, now you can see the difference between Jenny Haynes and a fake DID right there. Anyway, we've been on here about, I don't know, 2 hours or so. I just wanted to come on and talk to this. If you get a chance, please go out and watch The Girl in the Green Dress, or go out to, I think it was on HBO and it was called I Am Jenny. I think it's called I Am Jenny. Please go watch that show because it's basically where she really talks about everything that happened to her. It's the show about her, which we can't show on YouTube because we will get violated for, you know, not fair use because it is a movie. It is a movie, so we cannot show a movie here. But anyway, thank you for stopping by. I don't know where Sprinkle Donut is. I don't see that she's talking to us right now. I don't know. So we're going to say goodnight. Thank you for stopping by. We appreciate seeing you. I don't know what we're going to come with tomorrow, but we'll come with something. So enjoy your evening. Be careful out there. And as I always say, go hug your babies because you know life is short and our time with them is even shorter. And with that, I'm going to say goodnight because it's 11:47. Bye, guys. See y'all tomorrow. Bye.